Hello and welcome to SAHDPod, where stay-at-home dads talk about their happy, sad lives. I'm your host, David McFee, a stay-at-home dad of a 40-month-old little girl, coming to you all the way from sunny Palm Coast, Florida. The stay-at-home dads joining me on tonight's show are Craig Levine from Parkland down in South Florida. Craig is a doctor's husband with 3 kids and practices realty in between his dad duties and listening to the Grateful Dead. Say hello, Craig.
Hello, gentlemen.
Next, we have Danny Mercer, a stay-at-home dad for 6 years and father of 4 from Georgia. You can find Daddy on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube under his gaming name, Al Stays Home. Look for it in the show notes. Let us know you're there, Danny.
Howdy, folks.
And finally, to the show's only experienced podcaster, dad of 3, Matty McGraw, an Indiana native transplanted to NorCal. Matty runs the Geek Dad Show about parenthood in the digital age. Also look for it in the show notes. Step up to the mic, Matty.
Howdy, everybody.
Welcome to show number 1. Just a little background about SAHDPod. It started as a Facebook group of approximately 20 stay-at-home dads with a view to give a little bit back to the stay-at-home dad community. It's our plan to do a weekly podcast, spending 30 or 40 minutes discussing a single stay-at-home dad topic each week. Of course, we'll also branch out into general parenting as well, but it will always have a dad slant. As we develop and get listeners and the show grows, we'll discuss email and guest dads. The format is actually really in flux. But one thing will remain constant, and that's that we won't take ourselves too seriously, even if we discuss serious topics. We're here to have fun, and we hope you'll have a little bit of fun with us. Now, we all met online. In fact, none of us have actually met in person. We've all spoken regularly over the last couple of months, more since we decided to do a podcast. And since we met online, tonight's topic concerns just that. Show number 1 is, why is the online stay-at-home dad community so important for stay-at-home dads? So, Craig, you're the first person I met online, and you've been involved a while in the stay-at-home dad forums. Why did you seek them out, and why are they so important to you?
Well, they actually fell upon me accidentally with a group that my wife was involved with, which is a PMG, physician mommy group, and someone branched out with a dad's group out of that. And from there, I started finding the other groups, and I think we all had met in one common group or another. And it's been such a great pleasure to just reach out to other dads that are going through the exact same things as you are. As we all know, these days can be extremely long at home with the child, and lonely, or, I think we can all describe it in many different ways because our feelings shift 12 times in a minute, at least in my case. Mm-hmm. But that's really the beginning of my, explorations of what's out there online and making friends online. It's normal. Just maybe.
But would you say that you were basically lonely and you looked for people in a similar position?
Absolutely. I mean, I think I think even if I wasn't really lonely in a grand scheme, I was lonely during the 10 hours I'm with the baby alone.
I mean, don't hold back, fellas. We've got Matty and we've got Danny there. You put your input in as well. What would you say was your reasoning for actually jumping on? We can start with E01 first. Danny, do you want to jump up?
Yeah, sure. I was originally looking for a group locally. I worked close to a very big college town, and was hoping that somehow there would just be dads in a college town, which didn't really happen. So I started looking basically for meetups. Which is I think it's a national program basically that they have online, where basically you put in your interests and that's who you find. My main goal was to find people for my kids to play with, play dates as it were. And you just say that word to a stay-at-home mom, for instance, or anyone in general, and you just look kind of creepy. It's difficult for them to see you until they've seen you with your kids for a little bit. So I eventually just started going online because I really didn't find anything in the real world, as it were, that would fill that niche. And since coming into the online communities, I've actually met several stay-at-home dads who are close, and we can get together with and do play dates, go to the playground or whatever, and don't have to worry about that initial, hey, are you, what are you doing here? Why is there a man at the playground kind of feeling that you get sometimes?
And what about you, Matt?
For me, it really started not this past fall, but the fall before, when I went to the At Home Dads Network convention, and I got to meet a bunch of dads face to face, and it was my first time really getting involved with other at home dads. There's really very few of us in my area. If you travel to the Bay Area, I'm about an hour on the out the east from the Bay Area. And if you go in the Bay Area, there's tons of groups. They're really vital. I've been invited by the guys in those groups to come do stuff, but it's hard to drive an hour with the kids and with everybody's crazy schedules. So after convention, I was chatting with a bunch of the guys on Twitter, and there's the National At Home Dad Network Facebook group. And then we started to spin off groups from that main group. And I'm involved in, 3 or 4 subgroups that are even more interest focused. So to me, it's a really great way to just get to know people that you can sort of know ahead of time that you have similar interests, without just like cold calling the dad on the playground and be like, hey, we met once, do you want to do something? Because like Danny said, even if it's a guy, it's weird sometimes. So at least I think
it's definitely weird. It's definitely weird. I didn't look for the big ones when I first went online. I looked for Jacksonville first, and Jacksonville, for anybody who knows the geography of Florida, is 2 hours from where I am.
Yeah.
So I was isolated, and gradually that branched to the national forums, and that became Craig, which became Danny, and eventually to you, Matty. We've talked a lot now.
We have.
To the point where we probably would know one another. If we walked into a room and it was in real life, we wouldn't have any problems discussing things.
No, I think we just hang out like normal.
But the thing is, to get that sort of camaraderie is really difficult in the real world when you become an adult. And when you're a stay-at-home dad, it's essential, because you're taking a role that is generally frowned upon, or at least it's marginalized. And the stay-at-home moms don't accept you because, well, let's face it, guys are creepy. So you can't really do what the stay-at-home mums do. And the whole of society is set up for stay-at-home mums. It's not set up for stay-at-home dads.
Yeah, I noticed it was really funny. I dropped my son off at preschool this morning, and he happens to go to a preschool that's in a church. And the newsletter for the preschool had this big blurb on the front about a mom's night out, or a mommy's blessing group or something. It was all just totally focused on moms.
That's just the name of the game. They're selling stuff at the preschool constantly. It's all girl stuff, women's stuff. I bought a shirt for my little girl, and the vendor said, "Oh, it's so nice to see a dad involved and actually stopping by to buy something or whatever." We're black sheep, and in South Florida, I really was looking for someone local as well, and I was shocked that I couldn't find a local stay-at-home dad. As a matter of fact, when I reached out to David, I thought he was local to me. And
I must admit, though, even from my perspective, when Craig reached out to me, because I was so foreign to this sort of to meeting people online, it's a foreign prospect. He had to say, "Hey, Dave, I'm not creepy. I just want to be your friend," and you want to say it in such a way. My wife laughs about it. I say, "Yeah, my boyfriend's online. We're going to chat for a bit."
Nice.
And I mean, I didn't come up with a boyfriend; she did. But there's part of you that you're kind of getting back to the schoolyard. You're getting to learn how to meet and talk to people again.
Exactly.
In not a workplace environment, and online. Let's face it, online is not. It's a different world.
It is.
Not speaking to somebody, not seeing somebody's body language. It was 3 months, I would say, Craig, before you and I actually spoke on the phone.
Yeah, it was kind of a trip that day that we did, but because that changed the perspective of, I mean, your accent, of course, having never heard it, but knowing it was there. But I'm using that more as an example, just because, even with voice, you can't see my hands moving right now, what they are, but with voice, you can get so much more than you can just in text alone. So I think there's many levels. There's the text chatting. There's the group. There's private. I mean, there's these hangouts like we're doing right here. And all this is to reach out to other dads. That, I mean, if I told you a story that happened today with any one of my children, any one of you would relate.
Yeah.
And I think that's really the commonality.
Oh, and sometimes you need to get that story out, because the thing is, if you don't have somebody to say, I had poo, I had wee, I had tantrums, I had somebody throwing food on the ground, you can't say that to a regular dad, because most of them just aren't around to see it. You can't say it to a mum because, hey, I'm sorry, you're the bad. I shouldn't say that you're a bad guy. That kind of gives mums a bad name. But the thing is, there's a sexualization of stay-at-home dads by mums that is completely unwarranted, but it seems that way. And so you need a dad. You need a dad to say, "Hey, dude, that's nothing. I woke up and my like there was something online today about a guy talking about his son ripping the Velcro and spreading the poo. Did anybody catch that?
Yeah.
No, but I've had that happen at my house. Both my kids multiple times when they were in diapers, whipped them off and spread poo on the walls and the floor.
And his baby was fighting him and screaming at him because he was trying to take the poopy diaper away from the baby. Yeah. I've done that. My kids, no, you must give me the poop. And you can't say that. You can't say that anywhere. You can't even go to a daycare and say that. And maybe some of the people will be like, yeah, that's happened to me, but you're a weirdo for whatever reason. It's just
totally.
You have that, because we're venturing into a place where we're the first. This is the first, it's been going for 20 years at least, but it's really the first time for many of our communities, for our families, that they've even heard of this. So without that ability to go online and say the thing and even vent, which I don't really need to vent a lot personally. It's just, my life's awesome, but you need that ability sometimes just to go out and scream at the world. And again, to scream about things that nobody else is going to understand other than a stay-at-home dad. Even stay-at-home moms are not going to quite get it. And so having that community to go to all day, every day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, you can go online and talk to the other guys the guys we have in this podcast and say, hey, this happened. And they won't even have to, you don't even have to explain it to them. They just know.
And not just within the US. I mean, we're all based in the US. But the fellow who relayed that story about the stripping of the Velcro, and he wrote it from the perspective of his child as well. So you can tell that he was in one of those moods. He was obviously he was in his sarcastic "kill me now" mood, which I think only a stay-at-home dad would understand. But he was in Australia. Yeah. See, this is the other thing. I mean, we group with obviously English speaking more so, but we group with England and we group with Australia.
There are a ton of guys in the At Home Dad Network group and the private vent group that are in the UK. I chat with guys over there all the time.
Yeah, and the thing is, but we're certainly isolated. We're not high in number, even though it might look high in number. I think the group that I initially joined, not the Jacksonville group, but the other one that was the big group. We're all familiar with it. It's about is it 1,000? No, 4,000 or something.
Is it up? It's up to 4,000 now.
Yeah.
Well, it depends.
I think.
It depends on how many people get kicked out every week. But it's about 4,000 people, and that was originally, from what I understand, started by Europeans.
Was it?
Oh, wow! I didn't know that.
But that gives you an idea of how far in a field the tentacles of stay-at-home dad can come. But even so, 4,000 people. Okay, you take that into account of the population of the US, Britain, Australia. It's really, really small.
And that it was really the main group. I mean, you type in stay-at-home dad. I don't know about you guys, but I started with, I just wanted to take the baby to something that wasn't called Mommy and Me. So, I went to the music classes and did the My Gym, but it was a stretch. And you gentlemen have mentioned several times on the creepy factor of trying to approach a new mom or dad, for the kids to play, or for you to be able to speak to somebody while the kids play, or whatever it is. But I found my problem was it wasn't with someone that we were already friendly with. If I wanted to hang out with a woman that my wife already knew, I didn't have a problem. But if I made a friend who was a woman that my wife didn't know, that was a problem.
Yeah, I could see that. Not my wife wouldn't have a problem, but I could see that definitely being an issue, though. It would be the same thing too, and it's kind of the converse. When you are friends with, say, a stay-at-home mom, their husbands. I have a guy that went out of his way, shall we say, to meet me, just to say hi and shake my hand very firmly. And I'm like, hey man, how's it going? And what do you do for a living? And yada yada. And I had a great time talking to him. But at the very beginning, he was very kind of, male lion. Hey, that's my woman that you're having this little conversation with about poopy diapers. And what are you doing? Where are you going from that?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
In all fairness, though, the stay-at-home dads and stay-at-home moms, we kind of group them. We suffer from different. The change in roles affects stay-at-home dads more than they've got to more than stay-at-home moms. We already know. We've seen on the forums. We know that depression is very high amongst stay-at-home dads.
Sure.
Well, and David, if I could even speak to that specifically, that was one of the things that I had written down in my notes. I suffer from depression, have for many, many years. And one of the groups that grew out of the national convention group was a Dads Dealing with Mental Illness group. And I had a pretty major depressive episode a couple of months ago, and I was really, really kind of on the brink. And I was able to post in that group on Facebook at 8:30 at night on the West Coast. And within 15 minutes, I had 4 or 5 responses back from guys who were like, I totally know what you're going through. It's going to be okay. Don't forget to eat something. Don't forget to take a shower. Don't forget to get some sleep, and really talked me down in a way that I didn't have any friends locally or that I could have picked up the phone to call. My wife was at work. The kids were asleep. I mean, it was a really tough day. And because of the community and this mental health group, it might be a little bit of hyperbole to say that they saved my life, but it feels that way. And I mean, I couldn't imagine not having the Facebook groups. The other thing is I'm so much of an introvert that even if I have the opportunity to meet people, I usually would rather not.
Well, the thing is, you don't want to start from scratch. I mean, we're adults. When you're at school, it's easiest to start from scratch and to build that relationship.
Yeah.
If you have something common when you're an adult that can kickstart the relationship that you can talk about, like we're talking now,
mm-hmm.
it just makes it so much easier. I often used to say, and I think I said in one of our previous chats, because for people who don't know, we've actually talked before this. This is just the first time we've really recorded. I actually talked about having a common enemy, and having a common enemy is where you build your friendships. When you're at school, when you're in your first in the workplace, or when you're traveling, having these things that you just have in common and you share together is what builds a really strong friendship. We're all stay-at-home dads, and that's probably what will build our friendships and what does build friendships online.
Without a doubt.
Absolutely.
Without a doubt. Just the community. I mean, that's really the subject, and I think there's been some nice elaboration on it. And I noticed that the more, now that the baby is 2, I'm not at home with her all day long like I was, and there were days where I don't think I put the phone down, and I was looking at reading every post and up to date on it, and things have changed for me personally, where I'm lot more busy, and she's at preschool now, and the boys are a little older. But uh, I really value, the relationships I've made, and the ability to go on, and whether it's for entertainment or for, having a cure to a problem, which it could be anything on any scale. It's just really important to have these groups. That's
Can you remember when you first reached out and actually looked? Because I'll be honest with you, it even took me a while to admit that I was a stay-at-home dad.
Mm.
I was still a scientist looking for a scientist's job. It took me a while to even embrace it and look for it online. And I think the first thing I looked was the actual national page. And you know what really enticed me was the conference. I mean, I haven't been to one, and I do want to talk about that for the guys that have been. But I remember seeing that and thinking, there's a place I can go where a bunch of guys will get me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, who has actually been to the conference? Can anyone speak up?
Yeah, I have been.
And I have been. Go ahead, Matty.
Yeah, last year the 2014 one was my first one, and I think it was the 19th one that they'd had. So it had been going for a while, but I never really, when the kids were little, my kids are 3 and 5. So when they were, both of them under 3, I was so busy just taking care of them that I didn't really have time to think about what I was missing out on. But once the kids got a little bit more independent, my daughter was going to preschool, my son was, taking naps and playing by himself, and I had a little more time in my own head, I realized how lonely I was. And I have a great wife. We have a great relationship. She works graveyard shifts, so she's not home that much, and when she is home, she's asleep. So, I started to feel it, and I searched for at-home dads, and I found the At-Home Dad Network, and I heard about the convention, and my wife got home the next morning, and I was like, you have to send me to this, because like David said, there's guys there that'll get me.
Yeah.
And I was really nervous going, and I met a bunch of people, and some of them I still communicate with, and some of them I don't. But it was really great to be able to be in that kind of a situation, and to hear talks from people that were talking about things that stay-at-home dads needed to hear about, and really validating our existence. I mean, it really was a neat experience. I'm looking forward to, I didn't go this year because it was on the East Coast, and we just couldn't afford it, and we didn't want to take the time to do all that. But I'm hoping that they'll bring it back out west in a couple of years, and I look forward to going again.
Was that your experience, Danny?
Absolutely. And I don't know if I can talk about the convention and keep it in the vein of the topic of online community. I had never I never knew that anything existed like this. I mean, it wasn't, it's at-home dad for me. It was a decision. We said, we need someone to stay home with the kids. We need that family where, like Rick Moranis talked about it, how he'd quit making movies so that he could have a house full of music and warm food when the kids got home from school and things like that. And my wife and I decided, and I did it, and I was just flabbergasted. Just what there are other people doing this. There's a national convention, and I told my wife, and it was in Denver last year, 2014. Yeah, and which I have the same thing. I'm East Coast, so I went Denver. I can't make it. We didn't have time to arrange anything. And I told my wife, I said, next year it's in Raleigh, which is 5-6 hours from my house. I'm driving. We'll just go. I'll go. You take the kids for 4 days, and let's see what we can do. And just the thought of going. Now, I'm very extroverted as opposed to you, Matty. I love talking to new people. I'm the idiot on the playground who's walking up to the moms and scaring them off, and the wolf in the hen house here. But my experience at the convention, it was probably the most pivotal moment in my life as a stay-at-home dad. I came home loving my kids more. loving this life that I have. I don't even want to say job, but we all know it's a heck of a lot of work, but loving being a stay-at-home dad, owning it, as they say, more so than I ever had. And I never had a problem saying it. You know, it's what I do. And I'm a pretty hard on my sleeve kind of guy. This is what I do. And if you don't like it, well, okay, go pour concrete, you know, but I'm going to go take care of my kids, you know. But I went in and I didn't have a single one of these amazing, incredible, a lot of extroverted, a lot of people talking a lot of alpha males going around. That A personality, I think it is, the guys that are just hard chargers, and they were everywhere. All of these amazing people, so much energy and so much just desire to do something and help you do something. And not a single one of them said, so what do you do for a living?
What a good point you made there.
And it's huge. It's huge.
But you've really embraced it, Danny. Of all the people I know, you've probably, all the stay-at-home dads, I think you embrace it more than any of us.
Well,
because I honestly think that a lot of the reason for depression is the fact that we find it hard to embrace it. I certainly do. And I think that comes with it. That's where the conflict comes from.
Oh, absolutely.
And the happiest people I've seen in the forums, there's one fella, I don't want to mention his name, but he comes on and he's like, hey, I'm a trophy husband.
Yeah.
You know, I get to goof around all day and whatever. And that's enough for him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's the thing. I talked to, and again, not naming names, but I talked to someone at the convention, and he had a huge issue that his career was over. And he said, you know, I'm looking at my kids are this age. By the time they're this age, I'm going to be this age. I'm too old. I can't get back into my field. If I do, I won't be anywhere near my pay grade. They're going to hire a guy out of college that has, you know, more up-to-date knowledge about everything that's going on. And he was almost in tears because he had lost what made him a man, you know, and I am all for that. No one I know was a stay-at-home dad ever. I mean, I've never met another one before I became one and started looking for other ones. It was, I mean, the things my dad taught me was things like you work harder than anybody else on the job and you'll never get fired. You know, you go out and you get if they have Saturday work, you work Saturday. If they have Sunday work, you work Sunday. You do everything you can to bring home a paycheck to take care of your family. And every 2 weeks, my wife comes in and says, well, it's groceries, we can go grocery, we can go to this, got a little extra money, we can do this and set this up and Cub Scouts and all these other things. And not a penny of it that I provided. And it bothers me. It really does. But my life now as a dad, as a father, the biggest thing that I can think, the one word that encompasses everything that I am because I'm a dad, is sacrifice. And if it means that the best thing for my family is for me to stay home and take care of the kids and make sure they get to Cub Scouts, make sure they get to school, make sure they have clean clothes, make sure they, that today's episode of What's That Smell, it's all those things, that I take care of. Now, I don't run my house like I do a business. I don't run my house well. I'm not organized yet. It's never clean. These are all things that we all run into. I mean, no matter what we do, I think there's always that I don't want to say manly, but maybe masculine thought of I'm not doing enough. I always challenge myself. I always have that emotion that it's there, that I didn't do enough today. I didn't get enough done. But at the end of the day and at the beginning of the day and at 2:30 in the morning when the kids are awake, throwing up or whatever else they're doing, I'm a stay-at-home dad. And that's it for me.
But the scenario you just described, this is why the online is so important, because let's face it, every one of us gets that. We all do.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, but very few people will get it out. I tell you, the thing that very few people will actually get is how bloody hard it is.
Here. Yeah.
Yeah.
There is no, when your child wakes up at 6 o'clock in the morning, there is no sleeping in.
No.
Yeah.
There's no sick day.
There's no snooze
dads
button.
don't get a sick day. And,
nope.
Yeah.
When I get down or if I find myself in a foul mood and am able to recognize it, I try to be grateful you know, for various things, but I'm really grateful for the time I got with my third child at home with her exclusively for 18 months. And, conversely, my wife was at work and she missed a ton of awesome things that I got to see and witness and be a part of every day. And this morning, for example, I was, running a few minutes behind and I just embraced it. And I said, instead of going to preschool at 9, we're going to get there at 9:30. We're going to do on Fridays, they do this Tot Shabbat, a half an hour of singing and
Nice.
songs and all the little kids. And, there's usually a set of parents that are invited per class or something. My daughter wasn't being made, the spectacle of that week, but or today even. I just showed up, and it was a special part of my day. And I took a couple selfies, I posted it, and I didn't tag the wife, but eventually throughout the day she saw it. And of course, I had to get this selfie with her picking her nose right next to the smiling, but because that's the real life. But my point is, I felt blessed that I was able to go and have that half an hour with her and in that environment. And it's just something not to be taken for granted. And I just would stress that, if you're ever feeling down, obviously we have our community to boost us, but just in your own brain, just being thankful for the gift you have with your child of time, because time is the one
Yeah.
thing money can't buy.
But the thing is, though, as much as you've described that time, and we all try to think of it logically, you can't on your own think of it logically often. You
So
said you
correct.
posted those pictures online. How many of us have posted a picture of our kid online, reaching out for somebody else to confirm you've got it pretty good? You get to see your child.
Yeah.
Well, sure.
It's like you posted those pictures today, Craig, and as much as anything, as much as we want to reaffirm in ourselves that, we're doing it and what the reasons that we're doing it for, the online community provides a validation.
Oh yeah. Well,
Yeah, it does.
I've also, I can segue the differences of what I got out of an online community in 2007 and 8 versus now, and how I treat it differently. Now I prefer to run in these private groups. I prefer to, keep my exposure on my public page just really generic. You know, I just said Tot Shabbat as my tagline. I really wanted to make some joke at the, finger in her nose or whatever, but I just feel like, on another hand, I also feel like a poser. Okay, so I'm just going to put it out there. I feel like a poser because I toe the line. I've had a year of 20-year career in real estate that I didn't have to give up, and had I had to give up a career, I think I would have a little bit more of these issues that are so common with our situation. And trust me, my career was really low when I was putting zero time into it. And it's interesting because it just so happened that 2 months before I started her in school and took my 18 months of time that I had committed to do and fulfilled it. 2 months before that, I literally got an office with a space and a door and people that I haven't had in 8-10 years. And when I say I'm a poser, because I feel I still work and have such flexibility with the job. So it when I hear people talking about losing their career, I just, again, feel thankful of what I have set up.
Well, obviously, that in as well shows us how different some of the people in online are. To assume that all stay-at-home dads are created equal is ridiculous. We already
Very
know
true.
that. While the problems that we face on a daily basis are the same, how we got there is not the same. And we'll know. And this is another thing that online tells us. We go on there, and like Craig, you obviously came from realty. Some people, some people have come from, like myself, I've come from 2 degrees. There are some people who haven't. There are some people who've come from military. We come from such a diverse range that the way it affects us is differently.
Yes.
And what we give to the community is sometimes different as well. Obviously there are those people who are just happy-go-lucky, and there are those people that aren't. Which also brings another thing. We're all involved in different groups. We're all involved in many, many different forums, because we found there's a lot of bad online as well.
Yes.
The reality of it is sometimes bigger isn't always better. What is it you've noticed about the online community that steered you maybe to more of a specific group? What have you noticed that's actually been online but bad? I mean, we've talked about the good. What's the bad?
Trolls.
Which come in all shapes and sizes. And for me, I tend to be sort of a left-wing, progressive type, and I live in a very rural area, and it's very conservative, and lots of pickup trucks with gun racks, and it doesn't really mesh always with my personality. And so sometimes when I would get involved in some of the bigger groups, there's a tendency to assume that all guys like poker and hunting and shooting and mixed martial arts, and none of these things have ever really been, a big interest of mine. So it's nice to be able, like you said, David, to sort of fine tune your interactions with people. Not that you want to avoid everybody who disagrees with you, but just to find a community that you're comfortable in takes a little bit of work, I think.
Well, therein lies the rub. We're talking about, we're already a small group.
Yeah.
And I'm in a similar situation to you. Obviously, I'm Australian. I come from a much more liberal way of life, and I'm living in Florida. So when I'm trying to find people who are like me in a group of people that's already incredibly small, is not so easy. And equally said for the people who aren't like me and have chosen their group of people. We are already a small group, and online is often the only way that we can do it.
I was absolutely shocked at how few we are, or at least, maybe there's a stay-at-home dad that's around the block for me, but just never got any interaction, or he's not online, or who knows what the story is. But it seems like we're pretty isolated, and I'm using that word intentionally because that's a direct feeling that I had of isolation during the day. Do I want to go out? Do I want to just stay home, with the baby, and what do I want to make of this day? Even though it's set, it's all about the baby and what the baby needs, or what the child or the children are.
But stay-at-home moms don't have to do that, though.
Well, they seem to have.
This is the thing. Stay-at-home moms can take the baby and go somewhere, and therein lies the problem for us. We can't. How many of us have turned around and said to us, how many have met a person online and said, dude, I wish you lived next door?
Totally.
Oh, yes.
I think I said that to Craig the first time we talked on Skype.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
I was like, man, I wish you were closer.
I'll forward you guys. I mean, how great would it be if we were just sitting at the bar right now chatting, and
I don't know. The more I've got to know you guys.
Well,
we don't want to involve alcohol. We don't want a wine spritzer.
Well, tonight my alcohol was in the form, because that is so hilarious, because usually it's just Miller Lite, but tonight it was in the form of a rum cake, and it was delicious.
Did you make it?
That sounds good.
It was my cruise last week to the Bahamas. I picked it up.
Cruise. See,
yeah,
okay.
I just,
I thought you said cruise last week, like my CREW. And I'm thinking, are you running a construction thing, or like you a dancer? Are you DJ Craig? I mean, what are we?
No,
so it's cruise UISE. I got you.
Yeah, my wife turned 40, and that's what she wanted, was a cruise with some of her friends. So we had 3 couples and 7 kids, and
wow, that sounds like fun.
It was a Disney cruise. It was absolutely awesome. And what I had been speaking about recently was how I might have some close friends, and they might have a child the same age or whatever the case may be, but if I see them once a month, maybe that's a lot. And in a group setting, maybe if you look over a year, maybe I've seen a friend 4 times, 3 times, and this could be a friend I've known since kindergarten. I'm very fortunate again and feeling blessed where I live in an area where most all of my friends and family are within an hour in any direction.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's nice.
But conversely, I've got a cousin who I've been very close with. He lives about 12 houses away. 12 houses away. I never can see him because his wife demands his time 100%. It's just the way it is. And we all have different family dynamics. And I think that's another part of the isolation, the depression. It's another layer. Whether you're a working man or a stay-at-home dad or anywhere in between, some wives are much more controlling than others, and some men are much more, what's that word? I think I've removed it from my vocabulary, where you give up your balls to them. What's the word? You become, it starts with an S.
Yes, we got it.
I seriously can't think of the word.
Well, on that happy note,
submit. You're submissive to them. Yes,
right. I know a few guys online though who like that though, man.
Well,
okay,
it's so fine. There's nothing wrong.
We're getting
with that.
towards the end of. We're getting towards the end of our pod. Come on, let's end it on a high note, fellas. Anybody got something pleasant and happy to say? Because we've already gone through the negatives. We've gone through the negatives that are online. Yeah. What's our final parting words?
You can't find a better place for information and resources that come from direct experience in what we're doing than the online community. Because even if you had another stay-at-home dad 2 houses down and you went out with your kids, every 3 days you're out with them, they may have a finite amount of experience that's great for some things, but I decided to do cloth diapers and he does disposables. What do I do? Now that's a minor bump in the road when you look at 20 years you're going to be raising that kid at least. But to be able to go online and say, hey, my kid was potty training, everything was fine, and now all of a sudden he's wetting his pants every day. What happened? And to have another dad, which it's very important to me for it to be another dad because of the boy-girl issues. It's just something about it. I want to understand, why does my son headbutt the floor when he gets frustrated? My wife doesn't understand. She had to go Google it. Why does he do that? And I said, well, I know why he does it. He's frustrated. Well, why would he slam his head on? That's just, what you do. And I could say that to another dad and he'd be like, oh yeah, I don't do that, but I could see why he'd do that because it's a man thing. When it comes down to being a stay-at-home dad, it is a man thing, not a manly thing, not a masculine thing any specifically, but being a dad is different from being a mom, and being able to go and get that information from experience that other people have had in whatever issue. That to me is the pinnacle of the online community that we have.
Danny, I totally agree with that. And the other thing that I would add is that you don't just get one opinion when you post something, you get 12. And sometimes it's really nice to go, man, my kid does this thing and I think she's the only one. And then you post it and 12 different people are like, oh yeah, my kid did that. No big deal. I think just the validation and like you said, learning from other people's experiences is just purely the best thing about it.
There's no doubt that it's invaluable. I mean, I'll never forget when the potty training, just because you brought it up, but when the boys were potty training, I don't remember who mentioned it to me or what it was, but this little hack of, putting a garbage bag under the car seat was insanely helpful, because we all know what a mess that makes. So just, I like the hacks. I like the advice. It's really limitless. I mean, you put any topic up there, and it seems that you usually get the people who agree with it first, and then slowly on the eighth or ninth comment, you start getting a little bit of the opposition. But it's fun to see both sides, or maybe it's not necessarily so cut and dry of oppose or for, but just different views.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's all we have time for tonight, folks. To cut you off, that's another thing. When you get stay-at-home dads going, they just go and go. They like the Energizer Bunny. Anyway, I hope you enjoy it. Please subscribe through iTunes. Follow us and submit questions on Twitter at SAHDPod. And I'd like to thank my fellow host tonight, Craig Levine.
It was a pleasure, and let this episode 1 remain as episode 1, and we will look back and laugh.
Okay, Danny Mercer.
Yeah, you're very welcome. I'm happy to be here. I'm glad we're doing this.
And Matty McGraw.
Great times. Great spending time with you, men. So looking forward to doing it some more.
All right, thanks, guys. And special thanks to Micah and Me for their happy, their Super Daddy Fun Day. So, and ending that, if you want to look for micahandmerocks.com, it'll be in the show notes. And have a happy Super Daddy Fun Day.